Am I the asshole for making a joke about my pregnant sister-in-law, or is my brother overreacting? I, 32 male, am child-free. I always thought my little brother would be too, but he actually really likes kids. I always thought my sister-in-law must be behind him feeling that, but he says that he's the one who really wants them, but I don't know if I believe that honestly. She's currently pregnant with their second child, and they already have a 1-year-old. They were over to celebrate my dad's birthday, and my mom told sister-in-law she was sure that she was exhausted and to sit down and rest and not to help with the dishes. I faked a pout and jokingly asked why she offered the broodmare rest but not her son who's been helping her all day. I expected my mom to laugh and sort of swap my shoulder like she usually does, but it was silent. My brother asked me what the fuck I just said about his wife. I laughed it off and said take it easy, it was just a joke. He demanded I explain what was funny about calling his wife a broodmare. By that point, I was irritated and said they're the ones who thought popping out kids so close together was a smart idea. And at this point, that's what she essentially was. He called me disgusting, immature asshole for how I spoke about his wife. My dad told me to leave, and my mom refuses to answer any calls or texts other than once to tell me she was disappointed in me. I really thought my family was just overreacting, but now several of my friends are saying that I'm being an asshole to my sister-in-law, and that there was no reason for me to say that. I was really just joking, though. Am I really the asshole just because my joke fell flat? Am I the asshole for telling my brother's girlfriend what he was planning to do before he passed away? My 17 male, older brother, 26 male, passed away 3 weeks ago in an auto accident. It was devastating for the whole family, though he was low contact with them for minor disagreements. His girlfriend was the one devastated the most. She didn't eat or take a shower for an entire week. My parents took her in last week because she could no longer afford rent for the apartment she shared with my brother. Here's the situation. Before my brother passed away, I think this took place a month ago, he confided in me his problems with his girlfriend, and he said he was planning on breaking up with her next month in January. I thought this was too much for his girlfriend since she had always been the one to try to work things out, but my brother had issues. Seeing his girlfriend depressed to the point of losing weight and hearing her break down crying multiple times a day, I decided to sit down and tell her what my brother was planning on doing. I didn't just dish it out on her. I just told her what he told me, but she reacted in a very negative way. She had broke down crying and screaming at me. My parents came rushing, asking what was happening, and I told them after my brother's girlfriend rushed upstairs. My parents berated me, saying I should never have said this to her, saying how bereaved and struggling she was. I explained that I felt bad for her and didn't think it was fair to me to hide this important truth from her. They told me I had no right and this is not good timing. Also said that I made it worse and tainted my brother's memory for her and confused her even more. I got punished harshly, but my friends agreed that I did the right thing since my brother's girlfriend situation is just tragic, and she needed this piece of information, and I was right and considerate to give it to her. I really think I just let her know because I felt guilty for hiding the truth from her, but I might be the asshole for what I did. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for refusing to let my daughter move back in with us after she got my husband sent to jail? I, 26 female, and my husband, 24 male, have a 16-year-old daughter. We will call her Lola. Well, Lola has not been doing well in school, and her dad and I have been really trying to keep her on course with school by reaching out to teachers and making sure homework and assignments have been getting done. Lola fights and resists every little thing we try to do to help her stay on track. She skips school, gets bad grades, and all in all would rather just fart around with her friends. I get it, typical teen stuff. Now the issue stands that my husband is a grass smoker. He uses it for his depression. We also live in a state where grass is heavily illegal. Lola is aware of his grass use, and we had a nice long discussion about it, and everything was cool. Until the day came that we found out Lola had been caught skipping school and was shoplifting at a local store. We had it. We took away all of her electronics, phone, computer, TV, everything. She screamed and cried and threw her stuff and told us how much she hated us in her rage. She went to her room for the night, and we didn't hear anything from her until the next day. Things were quiet, and I figured she was going to try and be better at school so she could get her stuff back. Only to our surprise, a few days later, we had several police knocking on our doors saying that they were here from a tip that had gotten from Lola's school about her telling the counselor that her dad was smoking grass and abusing her. Yes, he smokes grass, but we do not abuse her. Well, the police searched our house and found his stuff. He was arrested and had to spend 90 days in jail for drugs and child endangerment. The state took Lola away from me and sent her to live with my mom, as I was deemed a neglectful mother. I was sent to court for abuse allegations and had to spend a weekend in jail for it, and now I'm on 6 months probation, and I have to see a counselor twice a week. I have been working my job 40 to 50 hours a week to maintain my bills, while my husband is in jail as he lost his job and won't have one when he gets out. I have been getting texts and phone calls from Lola saying that she can't wait until she can come back home with us, and that living with my mom has been a nightmare. I finally told her that I would have to think about her coming back to live with us after what she did. She said that she only did it because she was mad at us and she didn't mean for him to go to jail, and that I was being unfair to her by not wanting her to come back to live with us. She has not apologized, and I'm torn. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for grounding my daughter? A couple of days ago, we started getting rats in our walls and ceilings. They're very active in the middle of the night, and they've woken all of us up. My husband is working on getting them out and said it should take a week for them to start leaving. Last night, they were especially bad around my daughter's room, 15 female. She took some Advil PM to help her sleep around 10:30. They woke her up at 3 or 4, and she says she doesn't know if she took them again, but she slept until 10 minutes before she was supposed to leave. She was extremely groggy when she woke up, but I thought she was just tired from the rats. I get a call from her first, second, third, and fourth period teachers telling me that she fell asleep in class and asking me if she was okay because it was very unusual for her. Then during lunch period, I get a call from the nurse who said that she wasn't feeling well and I need to come pick her up. I checked the Advil and it looks like 2 doses were taken, so I grounded my daughter for 2 weeks because she was careless enough to take 2 doses and because she had fallen asleep in every class before I picked her up. She is furious and said that she wouldn't have taken them twice if we would have hired someone to take care of the rats. She told her dad, and he's furious that we haven't hired someone to take care of the rats, and that I grounded her for her mistake. He picked her up a couple of hours ago, and my daughter said that she doesn't want to talk to me, so I wanted to know if I'm the asshole. Am I? My mom gave me a deadline to get married. My boyfriend, 27 male, and I, 28 female, have been together for 3 years and bought a house together last year. My mom gets super agitated over the fact that we aren't married yet, and in a recent phone call, she became more pushy than she's ever been. In her opinion, we were supposed to get married last year, right after moving out together. In the end, she basically said, "You're turning 29 soon. Tell your boyfriend you have to get married by the end of this year at the latest." Now, I'm not really loving the idea of forcing a proposal. My boyfriend and I already agree we both want to get married, and he said he already has some plans in mind about how he wants to propose. I obviously want him to keep the details a secret because I love surprises, so I don't know when exactly he plans to propose. It may not be as soon as this year. No matter how many times I tell my mom that we want to do this our way, she insists her way is correct. I know she's getting pressure from our conservative Christian relatives, and this makes her uncomfortable, but I don't see her discomfort as a good reason to get married this year. My mom and I are really close, and normally she's a lovely person, so I don't want to do anything drastic, like cutting off communication, but I am getting exhausted hearing this kind of talk from her over and over again. My main dilemma is whether I should even tell my boyfriend what's been happening. He vaguely knows that my mom's been nagging me, but doesn't know exactly what she said. I don't want him to feel pressured or cause any tension between him and my mom. And I certainly don't want him to rush into proposing just because my mom said so. On the other hand, I don't want him to be blindsided if my mom brings it up and starts trying to pressure him directly. Should I tell him what's been going on, or would that make things worse? What should I do? Can I, 18 female, pretend I'm a virgin if I'm not? I know virginity isn't some super precious thing to hold on to, but I just want to feel like a normal girl. I, however, don't know if that's possible. Basically, at 14, I wanted to save myself from marriage, but I was SA'd. So I became terrified at the idea of only 2 men in my life being my abuser and my future husband. I've done the deed with about a dozen adults to erase what had happened. I was a stupid kid and it was a stupid reaction. A few months ago, I became more lucid about the whole thing. Problem is now I feel horrible about everything and I want to pretend it never happened and I'm still a virgin like before. When I get a serious boyfriend in the future, I kind of want to tell him he's my first. In your opinion, would this be okay or a terrible idea? How do I proceed? What should I do?
Am I the asshole for not giving my family any of my lottery winnings? Disclaimer, this is not my story. Background, I and my wife are both 24 years old. Every month we buy a lottery ticket for fun. Well, this month we won big. After the lump sum of fees and taxes, we won around $5.6 million. After paying all our debts, student loans, house mortgage, car loans, we had around $5 million left. In case you don't know, 70% of lottery winners go broke after a few years. Well, me being in the financial sector didn't want to be in the 70% and also never have to work a real job again. What we did was invest $3 million in a combination of mutual funds, REITs, and preferred stock funds for a very steady, hands-off, extremely low-risk, solid return approach. With the $2 million, we ended up buying a $5 million apartment complex that cash flows and will have a high return with low risk. When I told my family, I thought the first reaction would be excited for me and how we were financially responsible with the money. But they started talking about a huge family trip, how I was paying for all their debt, and more. I explained $5 million is a lot, but not enough where I would be giving it away to family, and they got pissed. They said I wasn't welcome in this family and that I shouldn't ever talk to them again. I think I'm in the right because I'm doing what's best for me and my wife, so am I the asshole? Would I be the asshole if I don't include my dad's wife as a parent in my wedding? Disclaimer, this is not my story. My dad is married to Sarah. She's only a year older than me, and for this reason, it feels weird to treat her like one of the parents at my wedding. We had planned to get my dad and my fiance's parents a gift from us to thank them for being amazing parents. I also planned to leave a flower in front of a photo of my mom as her gift/thanks. I wasn't really wanting to do anything for Sarah, but then she made a comment about how she was feeling disrespected because she wasn't invited dress shopping with me, and because she wasn't being talked to about stuff like my dad was. Then she found the gift for my future mother-in-law when she stopped by to tell me all this, and asked what it was for. I told her it was just a gift, and she said if we're doing the gift for parents thing, I better not leave her out. But she's not my parent, she's hardly even older than me. Would I be the asshole if I don't? Am I the asshole for going to IKEA with my girlfriend and then refusing to pay half? Disclaimer, this is not my story. My girlfriend, 23, female, and I, 24, male, just moved in together yesterday. I moved into her apartment that she shared with her roommate before I moved in. So the apartment was half furnished since her roommate took half of everything. I lived in an incredibly small bachelor-style studio, so the only thing I really had was a queen bed, a couch that she hated, and a TV. We agreed to keep my bed and bed frame since she had a full. She suggested we go to IKEA to restock the house, and she was super excited about it. When we got there, she filled the entire cart with furniture, kitchen, and bathroom stuff. She was asking my opinion on stuff, and I was happy to give it, but I saw the bill racking up pretty quickly. She ended up getting so much stuff that I saw was pointless, like bathroom rugs, a soap dispenser, a dresser, even though she already had one, and she got a second matching bedside table for my side of the bed, some art for the apartment, and 2 giant rugs, one for the bedroom and one for the living room. And this is just some of the stuff I didn't think we needed. There was plenty more. We ended up having 2 cartfuls of stuff, and before we even went to checkout, she said everything else we can get on Amazon. I was genuinely shocked she thought we needed more stuff than all this crap. We went to checkout, and just like I thought, the total was almost $1,400. She asked the cashier if we could split the bill halfway on 2 cards, and I was horrified. I told her there was no way I was paying for half of all this. She looked surprised, and we quickly began to argue. She told me this was for both of us, and I disagreed, and I said I didn't need half of this stuff. After 5 minutes of arguing and holding up the line, she paid and we left. The entire hour ride home, we argued, and when we got home, I was given the silent treatment after being called a cheap jerk. Am I the asshole here? Am I the asshole for telling my friend my boyfriend would never date her? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I, 26 female, have been with my boyfriend Jason, 25 male, for about 2 years. I've known my friend Stacy, 25 female, for about 8 years. For as long as I've been dating Jason, Stacy has made rude comments about how unattractive she finds him. She always says things like, I would never date Jason because his nose is so big. It's like a clown nose. That's literally something she said last week. She doesn't say it to Jason's face, just to me. I always ask her to stop, and she does it for a bit. But then, after a day or two, she'll do it again. It really irritates me. The other day, she made the clown nose comment, and she made fun of Jason's laugh, and I snapped. I told her she should stop wasting her time on hating Jason, because if Jason was single, there's no way he'd date her. I also asked if she would like me to make fun of her to her back the way she does to Jason, and threatened to do it. As a disclaimer, I would never actually do it. I just said it to prove a point. Stacy started crying and she left my house. She told some of her friends about the incident, and they say I was an asshole for saying Jason wouldn't date her. They said it really hurts her feelings, and since she was single and I'm not, I should have had some tact. Stacy also said my comments implied that she was undateable, even though I never said that. I just said Jason wouldn't date her. Anyways, it's been a mess of a situation. I just wanted to ask, am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for banning my fiancé's family tradition from our wedding? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I, 29 male, and my fiancé, 27 female, are supposed to get married in a couple months. We've been together for 3 years, and we haven't had too many major conflicts, and none we couldn't get past. Her brother Ryan, 31 male, and I, however, don't get along. He's kind of a jackass. He got the kind of personality of someone who never grew up after his freshman year in college and never takes anything seriously. I recently found out that my fiancé's family has a tradition of organizing pranks on the bride and groom. Some of it is stupid stuff that causes temporary disruptions. Think pretending to lose the ring for 5 minutes or orchestrating a fake mix-up with the cakes. Some of it is more elaborate. I heard that at my fiancé's aunt's wedding, they somehow managed to keep it a secret that they put bubble wrap under the entire carpet leading to the altar before the bride walked down. The pranks are supposed to be a bonding experience and sort of an introduction for new family members. The examples I've heard have been annoying and disruptive, but on the whole mostly harmless. Personally though, I hate pranks. I feel that regardless of stated intentions, there's always a bit of maliciousness hidden in the act. And sometimes, even without meaning to, the pranksters go too far and generally hurt their targets. Ryan is definitely the kind of person who would pull a prank that went too far, and has already started making jokes about how much fun he's going to have at our wedding. I talked to my fiance and told her that I don't want any pranks at our wedding. I don't want our wedding day to be ruined by childish jokes or, what more I'm worried about, her brother pulling something more mean-spirited. Like for part 2. Part 2 of Am I the Asshole for Banning My Fiance's Family Tradition from Our Wedding? Disclaimer, this is not my story. She said that this was her family's special tradition and that it was harmless fun meant to bring people together. Some of her favorite family memories came from this tradition. We argued and eventually things got heated and I yelled something along the lines of, "There will be no freaking pranks at my wedding." My fiance got quiet and then left. I immediately knew that I made a mistake and tried to apologize, but all I got was silence. The next day, her brother called to tell me that I was being a jackass and to stop being such a baby. They're just pranks. I can't help but wonder if I'm overreacting, and I know that this is a tradition my fiance values, but again, I hate pranks. Even more, I hate the idea of having pranks played against me. Our wedding is supposed to be a celebration of each other. While setting it all up is stressful, and while I understand that not everything will be perfect, there's a difference between dealing with an unexpected accident and actively incorporating something I loathe into the ceremony. Am I the asshole here? Am I the asshole for telling my coworker that my personal out-of-work activities are as important as her kids? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I'm a married 36-year-old woman and I have no plans for kids. I recently had an issue with a coworker where our boss emailed her and I if one of us could cover an evening call. The coworker asked me to do it because her son had a soccer game, but I said I can't do it because I have a volleyball game. My coworker asked me to do it because her son had a soccer game, but I said I can't do it because I have a volleyball game. She said that I should do it because the soccer game is for her kid and my volleyball game is just for me. I said that respectfully my outside of work commitments are not less important than hers because I don't have children and that she should take the call because I had taken the last 2. She scoffed at me. I know that other people around the office have been gossiping about me since and saying that it was super messed up that I made her miss her kid's soccer game. I think that it's incredibly important to support working mothers. I'm always more than happy to accommodate to their schedules of the mothers I work with when it doesn't cause a significant inconvenience to me. For example, some coworkers leave early to pick up their kids, and I'm happy to work projects around that. I also would have taken that call if I hadn't had a conflict as long as it wasn't a pattern of me taking significantly more evening calls. I talked to a friend about this who's a mother, and she said that I should have just done it because people who don't have kids really should have more empathy for working parents, and we don't understand how hard it is. I said respectfully that I do understand that working mothers have much more stressful lives than I do, which is why I decided not to be a mother. I also said that I can have respect and empathy for working mothers and also value my time/choices equally. She similarly scoffed at me and said I don't understand. Am I the asshole here? Am I the asshole for telling my coworker my partner is not her child's father? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I'm a 29 male, my partner is a 25 male, and my coworker is a 22 female. My coworker, who I'll call Tiffany, is one of those likable but flaky people. She's nice, but she's a bit of an airhead. Tiffany got unexpectedly pregnant a year before we started working together, and the father's not involved. I know this because she tends to make vent posts on social media that are open to anyone who's following her. She posts a lot about issues with her kid because her kid has a disability. My partner loves kids. He's a social worker and he raised his siblings growing up. I think his ideal family would be the Brady Bunch. I don't want kids, so we compromised by getting a dog. He saw one of her posts about 3 years ago and DM'd her telling her that he's helped kids with her kid's disability and he'd be happy to give her some advice. Since then, he's been very involved with her and her kid's life. Pre-quarantine, he would go over there all the time and help out and stay on the phone with her when she was having a crisis. I never had any problem with it because her kid has a lot of issues and I know Tiffany was drowning in it. I want to say I've never been jealous at all because although my partner also likes women, he's bisexual, he's just like this. Anyway, during quarantine, the relationship started annoying me more. Tiffany and her kid will FaceTime my partner while we're watching a movie so he can tell the kid a bedtime story. He'll tell me that he misses seeing Tiffany and the kid because they're like family to him. When we finally went back to work yesterday, Tiffany told me how much her child misses my partner and how all the things he's been doing for them have been really getting them through the hard times. I agreed that what my partner was doing nice, but then I told her that if her kid misses him, the relationship is starting to get unhealthy. My partner is not your child's father, and he shouldn't be taking the place in their life. I told my partner, and he said that I was being a dick. He said that the kid could only benefit from having a good male role model, and if the kid sees him as a father figure, there's nothing wrong with that. He also apologized to Tiffany. I don't really see where what I did was wrong. Creating boundaries is important. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for calling my brother's new girlfriend out? Disclaimer, this is not my story. My brother, 33 male, has been dating his new girlfriend for about 4 months. She seemed like a nice girl, except she just doesn't like my other brother's wife. I've heard her talk a lot of stuff about her. That she's weird and her hair color is ugly. Just stuff like that. My brother's wife is a weird character, but she's a sweet person that changes her hair color often. Might sound biased after saying that. I don't say anything the times I've heard her talk stuff about her. She usually says it discreetly later on to my brother. Yesterday we had a family dinner at a nice restaurant. My brother's wife came in wearing a dress. Truth be said, it was tight and low cut. Nobody judged her, and we had a great time. My brother and his girlfriend rode with me and my sister. We rode together to the restaurant. While we were driving, my brother's girlfriend randomly says, "Did you see the hoochie in that dress? She looked like a hooker." There was a long, awkward silence before I said, "Excuse me?" She says, "Who wears a dress like that to dinner?" My sister looks at me to say something. I said, "None of your business, and I'm pretty tired of you talking stuff about her." She again says, "It's the truth." I say, "Okay, let's see how bad you are," and ride in silence. We meet up at my parents' house, and we walk in. I go up to my brother's wife and tell her that my brother's girlfriend has something to say about her. She goes red in the face and calls me an asshole for instigating. My brother and his girlfriend leave. Everyone asked what I was talking about, and I told them what she said. My parents told me I should have left it alone. My sister says I was in the right, but also in the wrong. My girlfriend prays for it. I just want to know, am I the asshole? Fuck no. Am I the asshole for not buying my girlfriend the gift she asked for her birthday? Disclaimer, this is not my story. I, 30 male, have a girlfriend, 28 female, of 6 years. It's always been a problem to get her something for her birthday, so I asked her what she wants. At first, she said she does not know, and that some nice dinner would do. Yesterday, she came home from work and told me she saw a very nice set of Japanese knives she would like, but it's a bit expensive gift. The knives were $254, which I think is nonsense to pay for knives, since she's not a professional cook, she just cooks as a hobby. I told her I think it's unreasonable and that I won't buy it for her. She said okay, but was quiet for the whole evening. When I asked her what had happened, she told me I shouldn't ask her what she wants if I don't want to take it into consideration. I think it's a bit childish. She gave me one suggestion and I said no. It shouldn't be such a big deal. Also, money is not a problem. We both have nice salaries and are child-free, with reasonable monthly expenses. We don't have any limit for the price of gifts. For my last birthday, she got me a summer trip to Turkey. So, am I the asshole? Update in the next video.
Story time about how I got a facelift when I was 18 to become a famous Instagram model. And I am a famous Instagram model. Can you guess who I am? Disclaimer, this is not my story time. This is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. I grew up in the Kylie Jenner era when she started getting her lips done. Remember that? Kardashians were a Bible to me. I watched Keeping Up with the Kardashians and was totally obsessed with their looks. You see, at the time, I wasn't the prettiest girl. I was really skinny. I had no bum and no boobalas. Once Kylie Jenner started getting her body done, that's when I really started getting FOMO. To be honest, and I know this sounds cliche, but social media made me start hating my face. I would constantly compare myself to Instagram models. That's when I started photoshopping my pictures. It made me feel so much better to post. Then I begged my parents for lip fillers. They finally said yes and I went ahead and got them. For me, the next logical thing was to look like Kylie Jenner. So I decided my parents to let me get surgery. They finally said yes, but trust me, it took a long time to convince them. We went to a plastic surgeon, and that's when I decided to get a full facelift. I know it sounds severe, but it was so worth it. But I didn't stop just at my face. I even convinced my parents to get my boobalas and my bum done part 2 as after getting all my plastic surgery at 18, I finally became a famous Instagram model. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. This is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. The healing process, of course, was painful, but it was so worth it to me. Once I saw my body and my face, I felt so much better about myself. But something else was missing. Everyone on Instagram was getting their brows tattooed and lash extensions. So I went ahead and got those things done too. And I started paying back my parents for all the surgeries. So this was my basic beauty routine. I would get a mani-pedi every 2 weeks. I would get my hair colored every single month. I was getting lip fillers every 6 months. Facials every 2 weeks. Personal trainer who I exercise with 5 times a week. And I forgot to mention I had 100,000 followers on Instagram at this point. So I was getting a lot of brand deals aside from the modeling. That's when I started noticing that Kylie Jenner's butt was looking bigger, so I wanted to get mine bigger. I also wanted to get my hips wider like her too. I even started buying all the designer stuff that Kylie was wearing too. Part 3 is up. I asked my plastic surgeon to make my butt look bigger like Kylie's. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. By the way, at this point, I'd already had a full facelift and lots of body work done by the time I was 18. My plastic surgeon told me he wouldn't give me another round of butt filler. I was really upset. Then my parents asked me to come over. When I got to their house, they told me the plastic surgeon had called their house and told them that I was looking for more surgery. My parents were beginning to worry, but I assured them that everything was okay. I was not addicted to plastic surgery or anything like that. I just knew how competitive the modeling industry was. Instead, I decided to get filler in my face. I got my nose and my cheeks done. And that's when I started getting hired by more makeup companies. After a year, my Instagram following went from 100,000 to 1 million. I've modeled for over 50 brands and I'm currently planning my own brand. My Instagram followers are constantly accusing me of getting plastic surgery, but I've never admitted to anything. I'll come back to the comments and see if anybody guess who I am. I know people hate Instagram models because they never admit to it, but I will never admit to my plastic surgery. I mean, I'll probably have plastic surgery again. Have you guessed who I am? I took a pregnancy test and it came out positive. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. And that's when it hit me. I didn't know if it was my boyfriend's or my sugar daddy's. I had been seeing my sugar daddy for about 3 months at that point. So I went to the doctor to find out how far along I was. And sure enough, I was 2 months pregnant. By the way, my boyfriend had no idea I had a sugar daddy, but he also wasn't asking where all the money was coming from to pay our bills. Remember my influencer friend who got me my sugar daddy? She told me to just tell my sugar daddy that the baby was his. That way I could ensure the baby's financial future. I felt really bad saying that since I didn't know if it was his baby. So here's what I did. I told my boyfriend and then I told my sugar daddy. My boyfriend freaked out and told me to unalive the baby, if you know what I mean. And my sugar daddy asked me to marry him again. After that, my sugar daddy bought me a car and he opened up a joint account between the two of us so I have access to a lot of money. My boyfriend's just mad all the time now. My sugar daddy's being so sweet. Part 3 is So now that my sugar daddy gave me a lot of money, disclaimer, this is not my story time, it was sent to me on Instagram, I kind of want to break up with my boyfriend and be with my sugar daddy. My boyfriend is always angry because of the pregnancy, but my sugar daddy is totally supportive. Because I wanted to break up with my boyfriend, I started looking through his phone just to see if I could find anything. You know, like an excuse to break up with him. And guess what I found in his DMs? He had been messaging a ton of girls for like 6 months. I went through every single conversation, and there were about 15. Some of them are even the influencer girls who I said were my friends. I guess they're not really my friends. A week ago, I found everything, and my boyfriend said that he was unhappy in the relationship and that's why he had done it. But now he's saying he wants the baby and that's why we should stay together. But my sugar daddy is being so sweet and he's so excited for the baby. What do you guys think I should do? I definitely think I should break up with my boyfriend, but what if the baby isn't my sugar daddy's? What do I do? Story time about how I came out as bi to my parents. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it was sent to me on Instagram. By the time I was 12 years old, I definitely knew I was bi. By the time I was 14, I'd already had a girlfriend and a boyfriend, but my parents did not know any of this. When I was 15, I even had a girlfriend for a full year. She would come around the house and I would say that she was my friend. But one day my mom walks in on me and my friend making out on the bed without our shirts on. My mom was so horrified that she actually ran out of the room. Later I explained to her that we were just playing a game and that it was popular at school. I basically convinced her that I was not bi. Or at least I thought I did. Later on that day, my dad comes to my room and basically asked me if I liked girls. I swore up and down that I didn't. Then when I was 16, I found myself having 2 girlfriends, don't ask me how. Again, they would each come over and I would just say they were my friends. I thought I was home alone, so I invited my girlfriend over. We start fooling around and that's when my door opens. My dad is looking at me getting it on with another girl. Part 2 is up. My dad walks in on me while I was fooling around with the girl in bed. Mind you, I'm a girl. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it was sent to me on Instagram. Keep in mind, I had half of my clothes on. My dad literally picked me up from the bed and threw me out of my room. Then he kicked my girlfriend out. It was definitely traumatizing. My dad called my mom and told her to rush home. They interrogated me for 3 hours. I told them I'd had girlfriends and boyfriends. They were more than shocked. They finally calmed down and I was able to go to sleep. 2 days later, my dad tells me to pack my suitcase. I asked him why, but he wouldn't tell me. Then he drove me to a camp that promises to help your children who are bi. Instead of being afraid, I told my dad that I would try my best. I lasted about 2 days there. They basically made us do Bible study, and I was made to feel like a perv. So I packed my little suitcase and I left. So of course, I packed my suitcase, climbed 2 walls, and I was free. That's when I heard a really scary alarm.